Que onda, way? Welcome to this video where we will be breaking down the January preparation camp roster. So this camp was announced a while back to just kind of help some players continue to regain fitness for the qualifiers at the end of this month going into February. But hopefully there aren't too many of these players in this camp called up, because there are certainly some of Berhalter's boys who don't deserve to be called up. By goalkeepers, I mean, it's completely fine. Sean Johnson, Gabriel Slonina, Matt Turner. Slonina and Johnson probably be competing for the third goalkeeper spots. Nice to see a young player like him called up. Slonina to get him some more time with the full national team. Then Turner has been competing with Stefan for the #1 spot. Defenders, George Bayo, who was completely trash against Bosnia. I think he's certainly not ready yet, but there's not too many options at the left back and right back spot now that Jonathan Gomez is headed over to Europe. And Kevin Paredes certainly could be a good option to get a look as a kind of attacking fullback, but he may be in the U20 camp, which is actually coming up. So that's why I think we're maybe not seeing some of the younger players like Caden Clark, Cade Cow, Justin Chad. But Chad, certainly, I think he should have gotten a call up here for defenders. But yeah, Bayo, Dewan Jones, Brooks Lennon, he was not very good against Bosnia as well. Aaron Long, one of Berhalter's boys, is recovering from injury. I guess he's there, hopefully just for depth, because how are you going to call someone up who has not really played football in like more than a year? But then Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman have kind of been the preferred center back pairing as of late. Of course, you want to see them gain fitness because they are pretty good options. I think they're the main ones, so I would have no issue being called up along with, the goalkeepers. Midfielders, though, I do have an issue with. Clearly, for those guys on the list: Berhalter's boys, Kellen Acosta, Sebastian Lletget, Christian Rodon, and Jackson Yule. None of those guys should really be seeing the national team. Maybe you can make a case for Acosta as a #6, especially after he played in the Gold Cup final as a 6, but Berhalter sees him as an 8, and Acosta, Lletget, Rodon as 8s have not been very good, especially Christian Rodon. He even said himself that he didn't expect some of those other players, those other midfielders in the January camp, to get a look over him because they're not as familiar with the system. How familiar are you with the system if you've had more than like 30 caps under Berhalter and you only have one assist in your whole time? The Tony Snell of the national team thinks because he knows the system, he deserves an opportunity, man. I think this kind of sums up with Berhalter, some of these guys he's stuck with for way too long. I do think Bassett, Mihalovic definitely deserve to be called up over those three as 8s. I mean, Acosta, Lletget, Rodon. Jackson Yule shouldn't even really be seeing. I really don't want to have to see him with the men's national team ever again. He was terrible in Nations League. He's very average at best. I mean, he's a back pass and long switch merchant. He doesn't provide anything else other than that. He has no ability to dictate the tempo of the game other than those little instances. I mean, then Acosta, terrible on the ball. He wins duels. Lletget, back pass merchant, but he just occasionally grab a goal, I guess. Christian Rodon has done nothing for the U.S. So yeah, Bassett and Mihalovic, please make a case for yourselves in this camp and going forward to be called up over them. Of course, Luca de la Torre deserves priority along with Ledesma over those 3 as an 8. But forwards, Paul Arriola, Berhalter's boy, Jesus Ferreira, who I think is a very promising player. He actually did look good in some of those cameos he made in World Cup qualifying the last window. I think it was against Mexico and Jamaica. Yeah, those 2 matches I remember now. But and he looked good in those moments. He had that kind of link-up play with McKennie for the second goal versus Mexico. Missed a chance himself, but hey, he wanted to keep the 2-0 intact, I guess. And then yeah, I mean, he could play as a cam. He's been seen as a winger at times, but his best position is like a striker or is this an attacking man? Clearly, he's more of a central player. But with, Pepe Dike not being completely fit, and I guess P. Falk is still another option as well. He certainly could push himself in the conversation as a different option as a 9, maybe even like more of a false 9 look, but which is what Berhalter has seen him as. Jordan Morris is a much better winger than Paul Arriola, so if we're going to take an MLS winger, it should be him. Giassi Zardes, a guy who knows the system, I guess. He's had his moments with the national team. I can't even lie. Obviously, he had the goal, I think, versus Qatar in the Gold Cup. Missed some big chances in the Nations League final, obviously, but it is what it is. I guess we can't worry too much, but would have much preferred to see some other options like Cade Cow, Caden Clark get some minutes here. But there's apparently U20 camps. I'm guessing some of those guys will be involved in that, like Paredes, Justin Che as well. But it's just, I feel like Berhalter is still very stubborn. He's going to stick with all these guys. It'll be very frustrating if you see his boys called up in like Aaron Long, Lletget, Rodon, Acosta as an 8, and of course Paul Arriola. If those guys are called up and Gyasi Zardes are called up over some of the guys over there in Europe. That would be kind of just the whole MLS agenda. I mean, a lot of people say there's supposed to be a certain amount of MLS players on each squad, and I would not be surprised, honestly, if that's the truth. And sometimes it certainly does seem like that with the fact that Roldan, Lletget, Acosta continuously get called up over much more capable central midfielders like Luca de la Torre. And even better MLS options like Leon Flack. You could look at Alfredo Morales, who had a very good season. Certainly should be called up as well. Keaton Parks, when he's fit, is much better players than those guys. And of course, Bassett, Mihailovic have been better than them in MLS as well, and should be called up in my opinion. Roldan obviously grabs his goals for the Sounders, but he's looked terrible in his 30 plus national team appearances. But hopefully, we do see the people who should not be called up in this camp, not called up for World Cup qualifying. The guys who certainly should be called up are, you can make an argument for Slonina and Turner or Johnson. Turner and Slonina or Johnson, Defenders really should only be Miles Robinson, Marcus Zimmerman. Midfielders, if we're going to call up any of those guys, should be Bassett or Mihailovic, and forwards should be just Jesus Ferreira and Jordan Morris, in my opinion. So, hey, we'll see what happens. It's Greg Berhalter. I really am not convinced that he's the guy for the job. Wish Tab Ramos would have been the U.S. men's national team manager because I loved watching especially the last U20 team, 2019 U20 team. He did such a great job with. They played good football. They could play counterattacking football. So we saw against France in the U20 World Cup. Might be the real man for the job. Maybe Jesse Marsh eventually. We'll see. But thanks, guys, for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this roster, on Berhalter and everything else. Who you would like to see even from this camp called up to the full national team for the qualifiers coming at the end of the month. With that, guys, thank you for tuning in. I love you. Hit that like button. I'll be signing out now, and I'll catch you guys later.